I think that, it's amazing the amount of denial you still see, especially in the contemporary United States. And I think a lot of it, and I want your thoughts on this because you can speak to this a lot better than I can. I am not a scientist at all, but I understand the basics of how science works. I understand how it's evolving and how it's trial and error and how it's you're projecting things based on what is happening around you, based on trends that you've noticed. So it's impossible to exactly predict by this year this is going to happen, but we've safely projected that, well, this is happening. Human beings are part of the reason this is happening, a big part of it. And the cost of doing nothing is drastic. We can't do nothing. Do you think a lot of like the people who are denying climate change, they just don't understand how that process works?
That's a great question. I've been a climate scientist since 2012, and I've been a climate activist since 2006 was when I really kind of started seeing this as an emergency. And, ever since 2006, I've kind of wondered what the answer to that question is myself. And I'm still not really sure. You can't talk to a climate denier and, you can't show them plots and you can't talk about the science and you can't convince them that way. My dad was actually a climate scientist back in 2006. And over about the course of 10 years, I wore him down. And now he's one of the very rare Republican climate activists, possibly about the only one that I know.
So wait, your dad was a climate denier?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
He was trained as a chemist too. So, he was actually trained as a scientist, but he was still denying the reality of climate change, and then how serious it was. And it took I don't know how many hours of phone calls. If we're talking hundreds of hours of phone calls, and I'm not sure what finally did it, but he's no longer a climate denier, and he will deny that he ever was a climate denier. But yeah, I don't know. I still don't understand how anyone can deny this. I think there's denial on I would say on both sides of the political spectrum. You have Republicans saying it's an out and out hoax. You have a president saying that. And then you have, liberals and Democrats who, in my opinion, just don't understand how serious it is. And they'll say like, the science is true. We know this is an emergency, but then I don't see them making any changes. And that's, either on the policy side or just in their own lives. And in my opinion, once you really understand something's an emergency and your hair stands up straight on its ends, like mine.
I'm here. I'm doing it. Yeah. I'm doing it, buddy. I'm doing it for you.
Once that happens, you have to make changes, right? If your house is burning, you don't just sit there and continue watching Netflix. You get the fuck out and call 911.
You don't throw a Dixie cup of water at it and be like, it didn't do anything.
Exactly.
I thought that was good.
So there's a spectrum of denial, and I think now I'm really hoping that the public. I see the public waking up tremendously, especially over the last couple of years. I mean, now this is one of the main issues among voters. If you look at the overall electorate, I think pretty soon it will likely be the top issue among voters in the United States. So there's this huge. But still, at the same time, you look on Twitter and what's trending at any given time, right? It's always some sports thing. It's never climate. You can have the hottest day ever recorded on planet Earth in Death Valley, which was 129.9 degrees Fahrenheit a couple of weeks ago, and you'll still see some sports thing trending. So we have a ways to go, but people are still waking up, and I hope very soon this becomes such a key issue for the voting public that no politicians will be able to survive in office any longer if they don't kind of put this at the top of their campaigns and have actions that, policy proposals, and then actually follow through on them in ways that you can see, the emissions going down, right? That's the key thing. You can say whatever you want, make all kinds of promises and have the best plan in the world, and you can even enact some policies. But if it doesn't cause the US curve to go down drastically, and then eventually cause the global emissions curve to start going down, it doesn't mean anything as far as the Earth system is concerned.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your